Okay, today we're going to be doing another electrolysis experiment. I apologise in advance as I am sick as I'm recording this, so my voice may not be up to spec. But starting off, we've got these two graphite electrodes. Yellow is going to be our negative, and the black is going to be our positive. Sorry, the colour scheming's black's typically negative, but my wires are crossed here. We've got our power supply over here. It's going to be supplying 12 volts. To make these electrodes, very simple. I've just got these graphite rods. I've wrapped aluminum foil over the top of them and then just, pinched it with an alligator clip to hold it on and then pushed the wire through it. So yeah, the electrolysis we're going to be doing is turning epsom salt here into sulfuric acid. And so what you're going to need, obviously the materials we've already gone over, the epsom salt, and then you're also going to need be careful, a clay pot that's completely sealed all the way around, make sure you have no holes, and then also a container, which over here I've got this 3D printed box, this container. Right now it's just filled with water. That water is just right from the tap, so don't worry about it too much. Alright, let's get started. So what the next step is, once you've got your pot with no holes in it, in this container, and then fill the container with water, take the pot out. For this water I'm going to put a bunch of this epsom salt in there, and then I'm going to put a lot of regular water in here and fill this pretty much 3/4 of the way up. Do not put any epsom salt in the clay pot, as that will contaminate it. The clay pot, the stuff that ends up in the clay pot will be our sulfuric acid, so we don't want to add extra epsom salt and contaminate it. Now I am going to use my magnetic stirrer over here to mix that up just a little bit and get that epsom salt all done away. Right, that is relatively mixed in now. So now I'm going to go fill up my clay pot with just tap water. Okay, so there we go. So you've got that water on the outside, and the container is, got all that epsom salt, and then we've got regular tap water in here. So now it's time to get all the electrodes we prepared earlier and get our 12 volt power supply. So the positive graphite rods are going to go inside, and the negative is going to go on the outside. Right, those both look pretty well in there. And then we're going to turn on our power supply, turn it all the way up to that 12 volts that we want to see. You can already see these bubbles forming on the side. From my understanding, the clay pot is actually acting as some kind of like a salt bridge, as you see in a lot of other experiments, where it means that the ions are only flowing in a certain way, and that, from my understanding, leads to sulfuric acid being formed over here. And without the salt bridge, it would be formed here. You might have a little bit of sulfuric acid formed, but eventually it would just flow right back out and then reform back into I believe epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, so reform back into that. But by doing this clay pot, it allows it to be kind of almost a one-way kind of reaction diode in some. That's one way to think about it. Alright, I'm going to leave this now. It's currently sitting at about 12.2 volts. Yeah, and just come back later. Alright, so after about 3 days of electrolyzing, we have our sulfuric acid solution. I'm going to transfer it over to this container. The reason it's black is because you have that graphite that's eroded away. You can see one of the graphite electrodes for the sulfuric acid has been kind of melted away. And yeah, all I'm going to do is get this, pull the pot out and then carefully filter it through here using one of the coffee filters similar to this one, and collect all the graphite in there. So we have our solution. Alright, after leaving it overnight, you can see all the water is boiled away. The reason this purification method works is because the boiling point of sulfuric acid is like 380, 400 degrees Celsius, in that range. And obviously the boiling point of water 100 degrees Celsius. So you just heat up your plate and to somewhere below 300 degrees C, but above 100 degrees C, all that water will boil off, all very safe, and then you're left with just the sulfuric acid. So you can see the amount we produce. I'd say about 50 milliliters from about 100 milliliters, so about, you know, we had to 10% ratio when we had the initial batch. And yeah, this was just a simple video going over how to make sulfuric acid from Epsom salt. So a quick sum up. You're going to start with your Epsom salt. You're going to get your two containers, your internal container and external container. Fill up the internal container with tap water and the external container with tap water. Put the internal container inside of the external container. Then put the Epsom salt, as much as you want, inside the water of the external container. Then put your negative rods in. You want the negative, put your electrodes in. Put the negative rod on the outside in the external container, and the positive rods on the inside of the internal container. Put it on 12 volts DC, no modulation of any kind. And I let that sit for about 3 days. Just use that boiling method on a stir plate or some other kind of heating equipment, and then you should have relatively pure sulfuric acid for, you know, you can do experiments in car batteries, you can do experiments, you know, classic experiments just using acid, and there's a lot you can do in that world. So yeah, I hope you enjoy watching this video, and I hope that guide helped you out a little bit. And for any asking, yes, I do have a little bit of baking soda, so we can prove that it has, you know, concentrated. Here's our sulfuric acid. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope this works for you. Goodbye.